Hello, everybody. Andrew Blake from the digitalaudiomanual.com with another episode of Cubase Tips for the week of January 9th, 2026. All right, let's talk about audio functions. When we're talking about audio functions, we're talking about some advanced operations that we can perform on specific pieces of audio. One of the first examples of that is the ability to detect and remove silence. We take this snare drum audio, make sure it's selected, and go to the audio menu and come down to the option that says Advanced. At the top of the list, we can detect silence. When we choose that, we get this dialog, and it's already started to perform what it thinks is silence in this particular piece of audio, because you get these highlighted sections, which is audio that it's going to keep, and then you have these darker sections that it perceives as silence. All of this stuff can be changed and configured, but when you first look at this, you have some great options in terms of taking your mouse and hovering over any area, and it immediately turns into a little speaker. When you click on your mouse, you can audition the sounds. You have a volume control right below that if you need to turn it up or down. And if I hold the mouse at the very beginning and just keep it held down, then it will move through all of this audio. And in this case, there's already some reverb on this snare, so it continues to ring out even into these silent parts. There's an option below that says mute the gaps. Because this is unchecked, you continue to hear that reverb ring out. But if we choose to mute the gaps, then we hear it exactly like it's going to be if the silence is removed. If you need to zoom in or out to make some fine adjustments, there's a zoom control on the right, or you can just hold control and spin your mouse wheel. Let's talk about the Sample Editor. The Sample Editor is one of the main audio editors in Cubase. If you take any audio part, double click on it, it's either going to open up in its own dedicated Sample Editor window, or it could open up in the lower zone. And that's a preference you can decide on. If you go up to Edit, down to your Preferences, and you look down your list till you see something that says Editors. On the right, you'll have a couple of drop-down lists. The first one gives you the option of how things behave when you double-click on them. You can either open it up in its own dedicated window, or have it open up in the lower zone. Once you've made those choices and hit OK, that will determine what happens when you open up your audio. When we're looking at it in its own dedicated window, you can fill the whole screen with it. And along the top, you have a toolbar. Below that, you have the info line, which will fill in once you've made some kind of selection. You get an overview where you can quickly navigate through everything. And you get a list of tabs over on the left, what's called the inspector area. These allow you to perform a lot of different functions as you click through these various options. You also have a ruler up on top. You could right-click and change options on that. And then finally, on the right, you have an option where you can create regions. If you're not seeing some of this information, up on the toolbar, there's a little gear at the end for the window layout. At that point, you can check these various options and make sure they come into view. If you're looking at the full window, there's a down arrow that'll take you right to the lower zone. And there's also an arrow that will take you back to a full window, but you might not see it if you have something like the control room open. So if I close that down, now I can see this up arrow, and I can quickly move back and forth between the full window and the lower zone. These days in the lower zone, pretty much all the same buttons are available. You don't have to do anything specific. Whatever you do in the full window, you can do the same thing down here in the lower zone. You have all your tabs on the left, just like the full window. One tip I give to people all the time, any Cubase toolbar is usually filled with so much information. Initially, it's very hard to make any sense out of it, and you may be looking for buttons that you can't even find. Or you can always right-click in any blank area and check or uncheck buttons that you want to see in view. But I usually say uncheck all of these and then come down and create a preset and call it empty or none or something like that. So when you're looking at this toolbar, at any point you can right-click and choose that preset and then remove all those excess buttons. So when you bring a button up, you'll be able to identify it quickly. Of course, you never have to worry because there's always an option here that says Reset All, and that'll put everything back in its factory settings like it was before. All right, let's talk about hit points. If you take any piece of audio, open it up in the Sample Editor, go over into the left Inspector tabs, and choose the one that says Hit Points, immediately you're going to see these various lines appear on your audio. This is what Cubase calls hit points. And what these are lines that are usually set at any main transient points, or maybe as a beat Cubase is detecting. In this case, there's just simply 4 snare hits, and Cubase drew a line at the beginning of every hit. Then some various points throughout the sound. It may or may not be relevant, but all of this can be adjusted to what we need. But the whole reason for these hit points is because there's a number of features that now allow us to take this audio and either stretch it out create little slices, just a number of different functions. And if we were to manually draw these little lines in place for every piece of audio that we're working on, that would be a tremendous amount of extra work. Cubase just automatically does it for us with any piece of audio that we're using. That behavior is governed by a preference. If you look up at Edit, come down to your preferences, and in this first area that says Editing, if you go to Audio, as you look down the list of stuff, there's an option here that says Enable Automatic Hit Point Detection. And of course, you could turn that off by unchecking it. If you do uncheck it, you look at your audio, you won't see those little lines anymore, and then you would have to manually draw them in if you needed them. So for the most part, you're going to want to leave that preference on because it's going to save you a lot of work down the line with editing any of your audio. Many times you can even see those hit points right here in the project view. If I zoom in and then look at this audio, you can see those same lines right here on the audio. So basically, it's nice to know that the program we work with does many things under the hood, help us along, and speed up our workflow, taking care of a lot of the manual details so we can get right to the stuff that we're trying to do. And if you're looking for more information on all these various subjects, like audio functions and the sample editor and how to use hit points when you're working in Cubase, be sure to click the link in the description of this video or stop by the digitalaudiomanual.com for more information. As always, it's great to have you here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.